Straight and ready to go. Prince Philip, LEH versus St Edward's School. Friday, Henley Royal Regatta. This is a big one.
This is a big one. You know, both of these crews, A finalists in Championship 8s at National Schools Regatta. St Edward's, they were 3rd. Lady Eleanor Holles, they were 6th. Both of these crews, it's set to be an absolute ding-dong right down the course.
St Edward's have gone out a little bit faster than LEH there, the blue of St Edward's, but tell you what, they're going to come off the end of the island, and that classic bit of wind is going to kick at them.
It is there, that Teddy's crew. They've got the early advantage in this stage. And Teddy's, what a campaign, what a season so far from them. You know, we've mentioned there the performances at the schools headed the river, you know, 3rd National Schools Regatta, where they were 3rd again. And Henley Women's, I think, was probably one of the most impressive performances I've seen from them when they took out Shipley, who won at the National Schools Regatta in the semi-finals. So that'll give them a huge amount of confidence coming into this campaign. LEH as well, you know, phenomenal season that they've had. You know, we've mentioned that performance at the National Schools Regatta. There they are on screen at the moment, stroked and led by Harriet Graham, the 17-year-old there in the stroke seat. They had to have a substitution, a medical substitution before the final at the National Schools Regatta, so we didn't see them at full strength. But here they are going toe-to-toe with St Edward's, who are just eking out the advantage.
Wow, look at St Edward's. These look like international rowers. They're so loose in the shoulders and long. And that sequence in a rowing boat, we use our legs for the majority of the stroke. And the coach, Natasha Townsend, is really getting the most out of her crew here, because that looks like a very confident and calm crew. I was staring at them in the opening stages here. We must point out, they've just gone off the start, and this transition looks silky.
It's so good. And you know, that stern pair of St Edward's, you know, Isabel Johnson there, Emily Orpin in the 7th seat, have just gelled together, I think, so nicely throughout this race, and leading that Teddy's crew so well. And, you know, particularly if you're in that position, in that stern 6, you know, Emma Sullivan there at 6, Emily Orpin, Isabel Johnson there leading. To see that bow ball just moving past you, I think, is so important for them to build their confidence in the middle stage of the race.
It gives you energy, it gives you real drive, knowing you're moving away from a crew. As we stare down at this Teddy's crew, that white, blue and gold of Teddy's, really strong, really flat in the shoulders. The coach has definitely got them swinging this boat in a lovely way there.
You see that the markers there in the background, just showing that it's still St Edward's who are leading this performance over Lady Eleanor Holles School. And as we said, St Edward's School so familiar with these waters, with that statement performance, that statement win over Shiplake at Henley Women's Regatta. But I just think a word, you know, for Teddy's at this point, you know, they're moving clear of Lady Eleanor Holles, looking to break clear, get clear water between the two crews. I just think what a word for Teddy's. I mean, what a regatta they're having with their second 8, their men's second 8 qualifying for the Temple, racing today on the Friday, which is just unheard of. And then their men will go again in the Princess Elizabeth against Hampton School later on today. And the women's rowing at Teddy's as well has just come on leaps and bounds in recent years. The development and investment and time that's gone into that programme is clearly paying dividends, because Lady Eleanor Holles themselves, you know, finalists in this event in previous years, but here they are, St Edward's, leading this race at the moment.
You say they look calm, don't they? They're calm and rowing when it's done really well, even though these rowers here are maximum heart rate right now, because they're only about a length up. They've got to keep that smoothness to what they're doing. They've got to keep thinking about their boat and looking after the hull at all times, and I think they're doing that slightly better than LEH right now. Great shot down the boat of LEH.
They're absolutely dialed in there. Led in that stroke, see Harriet Graham, Erica Moran just backing her up there. But again, they've still got work to do. St Edward's School just continuing to move away. That's been a really impressive middle part of the race. I think a very mature middle part of the race. It's been a very, very mature execution of their race plan. And again, not working too hard, but I think doing enough to get the job done and stretch out ahead of LEH.
What are they doing differently from that shot? You see both crews there.
I think it's the time in the water. I think particularly at the finish, you can see the way Teddy's are just holding their blades in, keeping buried right until their extraction at the finish. And I think that overhead shot just demonstrates it beautifully. Their effective length in the water, the time in the water, and just the way they're all synced up at that finish, I think is very, very impressive.
This is the fastest boat out there, the 8. You've got 8 people rowing, got your cock steering you. So you've got to be strong, you've got to be aggressive to get these boats up and moving and keep them tapping along. So the kind of juxtaposition with that calmness, that stillness, but also with aggression and power. A little scream there. The two-seat. Aisling Fitzpatrick, she gets said, let's go. Length, maybe she's saying move. She's telling her crew, we're doing a good job. Let's keep going.
Yeah, and I think both of these crews, you know, came through fairly straightforward races for them yesterday. You know, LEH, they beat Surbiton High School by 3 lengths. For St Edwards, for Teddies, they beat Shrewsbury by 4 1/4 lengths. So we're expecting big performances from this race, but St Edwards have just, you know, copied and pasted that performance, and here they are out in front of LEH. And we said, you know, that development, that investment, that time that's gone into the programme, you know, from Coach Natasha Townsend and so many others at St Edwards School is really working for them. And I think certainly establishing themselves right at the top of women's street rowing.
Yeah, Natasha raced 2 Olympic Games with her in the women's 8, so she knows a thing or two about racing 8s, and I think she's done a great job. Look at this shot of this crew. It could be a university crew, it could be an international crew. Look at the timing and the confidence they have coming down this course.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the feedback that we're getting from Natasha is that she's so excited to see where this crew can go, so excited to see what their potential is. And I think she's particularly proud of the crew because they've all got each other's backs. The way they race, they train, very much coming together to get more than the sum of their parts, and we can see it's clearly working for them at the moment.
She's always excited, though, Fergus. She brings so much energy and passion to what she does, and I think that really shows in her crew. She's previously coached at Oxford, winning blue boats when they moved to the Thames, so she's really empowering these young women to be the best versions of themselves, and also learning a thing or two about how to move a rowing boat. Look at that shot now. You see that movement out over the riggers, swinging out, one drive together as they come down towards Henley, coming towards us in our little commentary box, and they can have heads up knowing they're going through to the weekend.
Another great performance in what has been a very historic regatta for St Edward's School, and this women's 8, this junior women's 8, continues to go from success to success. We're looking forward to seeing what their junior men can do later on this evening. But in this race, in this performance in the Prince Philip Challenge Trophy, St Edward's School absolutely dominant.
Well, great fight, LEH there, kept that to as small a distance as possible. Good season for them in this hotly contested Prince Philip Challenge Trophy, but it's a win for St Edward's School in the Prince Philip over Lady Eleanor Holles School.